So I want to talk about an interesting concept from Hinduism, from yoga, and that is the concept of siddhis, which are basically supernatural abilities and supernatural powers, paranormal abilities that we all have, that we all possess, that we can all develop. We can all develop through a solid spiritual practice. And yeah, just think of them as third eye powers, right? There is 8 primary siddhis and 5 more, and then there's secondary ones. I'm going to talk about the 8 primary ones and the 5 side ones. I'm not going to talk about the secondary ones here. So I have a list of them. I'm going to read them out to you guys, and we'll have a conversation after. So the 8 primary siddhis, aka spiritual, supernatural, paranormal powers. Number 1. Reducing one's body to the size of an atom. Number 2, expanding one's body to an infinitely large size. And I'm pretty sure what is implied behind these 2 siddhis is more of a metaphysical way of looking at it. So metaphysically, you can shrink yourself to an atom, and metaphysically, you can expand yourself to an infinitely large size. Number 3, becoming infinitely heavy. So this one, I've heard stories, now these are stories that I heard, that some Buddhist monks can become a mountain in consciousness, that if you came and tried and moved them and try to push them, you wouldn't be able to, because in that moment, they are a mountain, and that's what becoming infinitely heavy is, right? So, really crazy. Number 4, becoming almost weightless. And that's the whole phenomena of levitation. There's a guy named Specialhead. He was on America Got Talent. You guys should check out his YouTube channel. Very cool guy. And young guy too. And hilarious, funny. And he does levitation. And I mean, levitation is just like, it's not uncommon actually. Like, it's not uncommon amongst like those next level gurus in India or the Buddhist monks to levitate, you know? So that's what becoming almost weightless. 5, ability to be anywhere at will. So I have a friend of mine who had schizophrenia, right? And he's probably watching this video. God bless you, man. You know how much I love you. And he's fine now, like he recovered. And I made a video previously how schizophrenia is just shamanism. People who are schizophrenic have powers, man. They have powers. They're the healers of our society. But we don't understand that they just have access to different realities so readily available. And he told me that while he had the condition, now it's slowed down. He doesn't go near that anymore. You know, he's just kind of integrated back into society. But he tells me, and he told me, that when he had the condition, he was able to go to Libya. He was able to go to travel around the world just by closing his eyes and going wherever he wanted to go. And that kind of makes sense. I mean, we are living in a matrix. This is, time and space are an illusion. This is a matrix, it's information-based. You can go and travel to other places at will if you have these supernatural abilities developed. And I think, astral projection, you're literally going to other dimensions and traveling to other dimensions. Astral projection, the DMT flash, DMT flash, you're somewhere, you're in other dimensions altogether, right? If we can go to other dimensions, and if we have our spiritual powers developed, our third eye open, why can't we go within this dimension to other places? So that's number 5, ability to be anywhere at will. 6, realizing whatever one's desire. And this is kind of that whole law of attraction movement and getting what you want. It's a city. It's a power. It's you have a will. I will something to happen, and you will it to happen. So maybe this one is the one more of us regular folks can relate to, right? Realizing whatever one desires. 7, supremacy over nature, and 8, control of natural forces. And again, Again, Jesus walked on water. This is not a metaphor. Jesus walking on water is not a metaphor. Jesus walked on water because Jesus' consciousness was so high that he's able to see that this is all just illusion and it's information based, and he can just walk on water because he can make water into rock if he wanted to. To us, it would still look like he's walking on water. But to him, he's walking on rock. And yeah, those are the primary cities, right? Then there's 5 side ones. They're not secondary. They're secondary ones, but I'm not going to talk about them here. But I'll talk about these 5 side ones. They're still relevant. 1, knowing of past, present, and future. And I've told you guys some stories already. This is common, I think. Premonitions. You know, having dreams about the future. Knowing of what's going to happen. I think that's actually common even amongst us regular folks, right? Knowing of past, present, and future. 2, tolerance of heat, cold, and other dualities. Wim the Iceman Hof. He learned a lot of his techniques from Buddhist monks in Tibet. They have a Tumu meditation where they can stand still in -30 and they have sheets around them and they warm the sheets with their body heat. See, this is right in our face. With the when the Iceman Hof is actually bringing this to science. That's what's amazing. This is a city that's actually being mainstream here. 3, knowing the minds of others. I made a video previously how you can actually read someone's mind. If you empty your mind fully, you can actually become that person. And you can actually read their thoughts thought for thought. I'm not saying I know how to do it, but I know it's possible. Number 4, checking the influence of fire, sun, water, poison. And there are lots of stories about people who can stop poison. They can eat something poisonous and stop it. Right? Actually, Wim Hof, with his breathing technique, they did a study. He taught people how to do it. They injected him with bacteria, which is poison, and through breathing and meditation and visualization, nothing happened. So there you go, another city right there. Number 5, remaining unconquered by others. That's you building such a strong vibe that nothing else affects you. So these 5 side cities we can relate to more, us regular folks, right? And some of it's becoming mainstream, like controlling your body, your heat, your cold, and reading past, present, and future. Definitely a lot of psychics out there. Some are fraud, others are legit, channelers, etc. These are all things we can do. This is third eye powers. These are all things we can do. Question is, are we willing to go down the rabbit hole and actually unlock these powers? You might know they exist, you might have experienced glimpses of them here and there and said, you know what, it's too much work. I don't want to go down that route, right? I think a lot of these powers also just kind of start to develop on their own as you increase your state of consciousness and your awareness, right? Like definitely some of the stories I told you guys here about singing into the future and having things happen. And I think I already have the video about Jacqueline, the incident with Jacqueline, and how I saw it in a dream and it happened. And I definitely think the more you become an aware, conscious, awakened person, the more you will just spontaneously experience some of these things, and then maybe you can put your mind into it, right? Telekinesis, psychokinesis, all these things, some people that can do it, right? I'm very interested in telekinesis and psychokinesis. I think that's the one city, the one power that I would like to develop in this lifetime. I don't know if I'm going to be able to develop all of these. Maybe it depends how my life goes, how much time I have to practice, etc. Because you still got to be in the world, do your thing, make a living, do this, do that, right? But I'm very intrigued and very interested. And I'm sure, you know, maybe there's like millions of people in the world that possess several, if not most of these qualities. Millions of people right now walking around this planet that already possess these qualities and these powers. And it's just coming up, man. As the consciousness of the planet increases, as the mass consciousness, the mass awareness of the planet and the people increase, what I think in 100 years from now, I think we're going to be sitting in a room and we're going to be moving things with our mind. I really think if the consciousness goes up enough, I'm optimistic, right? Maybe it will go down, who knows? But I'm like of the utopia that I want to live in 100 years, maybe 500 years. I don't want to be too optimistic. Maybe in 500 years, we won't even need like moving companies. We won't need, because we'll just move things with our mind. We won't even need like, you'll just look at things and you'll move them with your mind, right? So I'll look at my tripod, I'll set it up with my mind, I'll put my phone there, I'll hit the record button and I'll stop with my mind. Yeah, in 500 years, probably less than that. If we keep raising the consciousness of the planet, these things will just become regular. Like, oh, like, you know, and you can see how that can get dangerous, right? Because, I mean, these are serious powers, man. You can look at a car and you can cause a car accident. These are serious powers, right? The saying, with great power comes great responsibility, has never been more true for these cities. But the nice thing is, for most people who achieve these powers, your consciousness has to be high enough, and not always the case. Sometimes you can use it for evil. You can have a high consciousness and decide to use these things for evil and ego. So it's not always the case. You know, there's black magic. It's very real. It's out there, right? People who are high consciousness, they know all this and choose to use it for the Darth Vader, the dark side of the Force, right? You know that scene in Star Wars where Yoda's training Luke, and Luke is like, I can't move that ship, and he's like, no, it's only different in your mind. And then he moves the ship. Well, I actually think in 100 to 500 years, we will all just because we're all naturally Jedi warriors, all of us. We have the Jedi abilities. We do. And I think, you know, in 100 to 500 years, it'll just become like a normal thing, right? And, you know, we'll probably be able to teleport. We won't even need cars. We have the technology here. You know, all this technology we're building right now, there's, you know what? This actually, oh my God, this makes sense. Okay, you tell me it doesn't make sense. By continuously developing technology, the third eye powers that we have to see through time and space and to teleport and do all these things is dying off because we're depending more and more on technology to do that for us. But my hope is, as the consciousness rises, we awaken these powers again and use the technology that we have, and fuck, like, man, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna keep doing my thing in the world. I'm gonna keep developing my cities. I'm gonna keep sharing what I learned with you guys, with the world. And I wanna come back here again in 100 years. You know, I think I still wanna incarnate. I don't wanna free myself out of the cycle yet. This is an interesting time. I'd like to come back here in 100 years, in 500 years, and see what's going on. Are we all just like walking around, teleporting and moving things with our objects and walking on water and manifesting things just by thinking about them? There are stories, man. There are stories of some gurus in India, and really, they'll blow your fucking mind away. And these stories are not told by one person. They're told by several people. And these are people who went to America, went to India, saw some of that crazy shit, came back to report it. And, you know, once you know who you are, you know that all this is possible. And once, if you have any questions, go into the woods, blast yourself on 5 grams of mushrooms, and you will at least believe that you can walk on water. Maybe you won't be able to do it yet, but you believe. You look at the water and be like, yeah, it's possible. You'll know that it's possible. You might not be able to, but you'll know it's possible. And you look at things and you'll be like, man, I can move them with my mind. You'll know all this to be true. If you have any doubt, we just gotta increase the consciousness, man. We gotta increase the consciousness, that's all. So that's it. God bless you all, guys. I love every single one of you. Be responsible with your cities, okay? When you develop your cities, be responsible with them. Because with great power comes great responsibility. I'm personally committed to developing psychokinesis and telekinesis. And that's at least for this lifetime, that's my goal, that's my target. As always, don't forget to subscribe, or you're gonna sleep with the fishes. So subscribe.